And welcome to our level 2 yoga class. Let's settle into a comfortable seat. And please really feel through your body to make sure the seat you've chosen is comfortable. It's fine to come to standing or to lie down on your back in constructive rest. What we're looking for is a neutral lumbar curve. If you're sitting, a steady base with your sit bones, and awareness of pubic bone, tailbone alignment across the front and back of the pelvic floor, so that you've created a balanced base, and then a comfortably lengthening spine skyward. And you may play with noticing your patterning by swaying forward to back a little and finding that place where your heart center, your heart chakra, balances over the pelvis. And then you may play a little with taking your chin forward, drawing your hyoid bone back, and playing with your third eye center, floating back over the heart. Another way to do this is to place your tongue at the very back of the hard palate on the roof of your mouth. Right above this point, there's a little bone nest where your pituitary gland sits, and that's beneath your open spot, your soft spot on the top of your skull. So you can line those places up that way, over the heart and over the pelvis. And then we've found a healthy alignment to the Sushumna channel. And we can settle into recognizing the breath. And if it's possible at first, we observe our breath as it flows naturally into the body. And we notice our own patterns. Some of us may have a habit of filling the front body and not breathing into the back body. Some of us may fill the chest and have a harder time drawing the breath down towards the pelvic floor. We don't judge or criticize, we just notice. All of us have stories and historical reasons in the tissues of our body for our breathing patterns. So we notice what they are. And then if we notice places we would like to expand the breath into, we begin that expansion process. And we remember we're not forcing a big breath. We're not breathing into straining the body open. We're gently, softly filling the body with a long, slow, deep, even breath. With the gentle aim of filling the whole circumference of the torso, inviting the breath to ripple away from our center channel and expand us. And then today, I'd like you to gently open your eyes and hold your hands up in front of you and look at your pinky fingers. And when we come into hand mudras in yoga, each finger represents something. So we think of the pinky finger as representing tamas energy in the universe. Tamas energy is the earthy, grounding energy. The ring finger, you can wiggle your ring finger now, represents rajas, or fire, that fire of aliveness that heats us up. Now you can imagine how these two energies in the universe could go out of balance. We see it in the natural world when we see flooding and mudslides, or when we see fires burning. This can happen inside our bodies as well. So we work to bring these energies into harmony. The middle finger, wiggling that one now, represents sattva, or clarity. These three are the gunas, these qualities, these energies that exist in the world and in us. Sattva is like the open sky. We balance and harmonize these three energies. And then, wiggling your index finger, that leads us to our own individual and unique consciousness. Some people would refer to that as our ego, but in yoga, the ego isn't necessarily seen as a bad, selfish thing, which it sometimes is referred to in our society. It's our individual, unique consciousness. Perhaps we relate it to our wisdom body, our Jnanamaya kosha. It's our wise, individual consciousness. And then the thumb represents supreme or all-encompassing consciousness. So in many mudras, you'll see people bring the index finger and the thumb together in a circle. And go ahead and bring your index finger and thumb together. It's like closing an electrical circuit so that this energy continues to revolve through our own bodies. It makes me think of when I was an elementary teacher and we'd have the kids all stand in a circle holding hands, and then they'd touch the little ping pong ball with a light bulb inside and they'd see it light up. So we keep this energy as we bring our index finger and thumb together, circulating inside our own bodies. And then the center of the palm, as we lay our hands down towards our legs or towards the earth, if we're lying on our backs, rest towards earth and draw in the grounding energy of earth. If the hands are resting on our legs, they rest against one of the major nadi channels that moves through our legs and back towards our pelvic floor. So the energy we take in through the palms and through the backs of our hands moves towards our center channel. Now, with our unique consciousness and all-encompassing consciousness touching, as Izzy runs back and forth excited about her play date, let's tune back into the breath. Mudra is a shape, is a way of holding and channeling energy. So we breathe into awareness of the hands and what these fingers and thumbs represent. And we draw energy in from earth and from sky through the backs of our hands and our palms. We draw this energy into our root chakra and up to our heart chakra. This energy to move along the Sushumna channel, which circulates energy through the chakras out to the body. And we rest again into the breath, drawing prana into the body. Another definition of mudra is a seal, like the wax seal on an envelope. It's a way of sealing ourselves into our practice and our intentions. And then we rest again with the breath. And with the breath, we invite discernment of how we would like to renew ourselves in the new year. Let yourself breathe into this question, into this discernment. How would I like to renew myself through this practice today and as I step into this new year? We invite universal consciousness to flow through us. To express itself through us uniquely as we harmonize the gunas. And then let's gently inhale our palms together and bow our heads. Our hands held together create another mudra. A mudra representing prayer, a bowing inward towards the heart, a unification of our energies, sun and moon, heat and cool, and the bowing to each other, to the light, the fire inside each of us. And as we stand for our practice today, let's remember that each pose is a mudra, is a way for us to channel energy. And our intention inside each pose matters. May this practice help us move in the directions we've chosen towards renewal in this new year. Namaste. Okay, let's come to standing. I'll move Izzy's moose onto the couch. And let's begin to gently flow. And let yourself feel your whole body in slow rippling motion. Tuning in and saying good morning. From the feet, through the legs, into the hips. Try to acknowledge places all along the spine. Up into the shoulder girdle and the neck. And let your arms begin to flow out front One palm up, one palm down. And feel into the significance of your ability to draw energy in through the palms of your feet, soles of your feet, and the palms of your hands, the backs of your hands, through your skin, to your eyes, through the entire body. And if you'd like, let the hands gently twist around the body, twisting the spine. And just notice if there's tightness in your fabric at the four corners or anywhere else. And just invite the fabric to soften, the fluids and the prana to flow. And perhaps the arms can fly skyward and fly back earthward, realizing that we're moving energy. Let's let our feet land wide and our arms float out to the sides. And inhale, turning the left palm up, the right thumb under and back palm up. And then we switch. And we gently begin to move the rotator cuff and twist the spine, and we may bend the knees. We feel into how the body moves. And again, we invite the fabric to soften. It was interesting because I've been focused a lot on learning Qigong lately. And there's such a focus on relaxation and effortless effort. And then I was reading Doug Keller this morning, and as he was talking about the mudras of the poses, he's talking about how if we come into the pose well aligned, the pose should become effortless. And that's what we're looking for. We're releasing the arms. Let's inhale and stretch them skyward and release them earthward. And here we're inviting the myofascial matrix to open so the bones can float into our poses. And we open the feet wide on the floor. We may stretch the toes apart. We feel for grounding the big toe ball mount, the inner heel, the outer heel, and the pinky toe ball mount. But we have the feet open, receptive to the energy of earth. And reaching the hands skyward, we take them the other way. And we really let our gaze turn inward, pratyahara. Our concentration feel into the fabric of the body, so we know it better and can take care of it. Renewing our energy, revitalizing ourselves. And let's release the arms in pause. Let the arms drape down from the shoulder girdle. And feel into the neck for a moment as you take the chin forward and then draw the hyoid bone back. And take the chin forward, feel the neck stretch. Draw the hyoid bone back, lift the base of the skull. And let that energy move, noticing your throat, your neck, any tension that you might find in this motion. And then rest the head back and imagine a hot air balloon has a little hook at the base of your skull and it's lifting you, and you can lean back into the lift and root your tail and let the back of the spine stretch open. And then open the arms like wings, palms up, thumbs back, stretching across the collarbones, stretching the shoulder blades wide on your back, but letting the shoulder blades support a lift to the ribs. Three-dimensional breath deep into the torso. Stretching the tissue between the ribs, around the sternum, around the heart center. Feel how the physical and emotional bodies are connected as you stretch the heart open. And then bending the elbows, exhale, pinky fingers together, cat curl the spine. Inhale, open the heart, stretch the palms. Let each position be a mudra. Breathe into the mudra and then exhale the movement. Can your feet still be receptive of earth energy, even as you lift your heart towards the sky and spread your fingers? Can we become receptive of the energies all around us, behind us, beneath us, above us? Can we feel ourselves both at once unique individuals, but interconnected with this environment? And next time you open the arms, let's stretch them skyward and turn the feet out and bend the knees and bend the elbows and make fists with the hands. And then stretching the hands, opening them wide, lift the heels and lower. And we continue to move lymph and open the four corners of the body. See if you can stretch the hands so that you feel space between the bones of the fingers. A lot of people complain about osteoarthritis in the hands. We need energy to move through the hands, not just in habitual patterning. So stretch the hands a little differently each time. See if you can open the fabric of the hands. And then release the hands, palms down. Straighten the legs. Take your right heel back, left foot forward, and bend the knee into Virabhadrasana 2. Let your gaze rest out over the front fingertips. And ask yourself, where do I tend to over-effort in this pose? How can I relax into the posture and come back to my three-dimensional breath, letting my body be mudra? Channeling energy in and out of the body with your breath, with your intentions. Releasing right hand to the femur, left arm alongside the ear, stretch the heart skyward, and then bow earthward. And let yourself explore the movement. And if you'd like to come lower to your forearm, do so. And if you'd like to come lower to a block, do so. But don't come so low that you constrict the fabric. Don't let the ego become too concerned about how the pose is supposed to look. Feel into the fabric of your body and listen to the body. Where does it want to be? And floating the heart open, rainbow the top arm over, stretching from the outer heel of the right foot through each reaching finger, and then relaxing into the pose around the collar, around the jaw, around the eyes. And then as softly and effortlessly as possible, can you float yourself up into dancing warrior, relaxing the collar again. Fluid breath. Ask yourself, where am I over efforting? Where can I release? Maybe I come out of the pose a little and explore moving back into it. Maybe I spread the feet. I relax my quads. Where can you come into the pose and make it as effortless as possible, allowing the prana to move through? What if the work were to bring revitalization into the body? Now, straightening the front leg, cartwheel into your high trikonasana. And pause. Where can you release tension? Come back to the three-dimensional invitation of prana to move through you. And then draw yourself up to standing. And bring your blocks towards the front or your chair seat, or you can come to sitting on your chair. And we'll come into Prasarita Padottanasana. Thumbs come towards the back spine. Elbows reach back behind us as we root the hands onto the pelvis, down into the floor, and lengthen the side bodies. Lengthen up to the back of your armpit. Use the shoulder blades to help lift the heart as you fold into a back bend, rooting your tail, lifting the lowest rib ring, lifting the base of the skull, and breathing. Coming back to this question of how do I relax into the pose? How do I open the tissue to invite the prana to move through harmoniously? And then exhaling, draw the inner thighs back and let your hands come down to your props. And inhale a cow and exhale a hissing cat. And as you flow, feel into the body. What is it asking for? Does it want you to traction your pelvis back, to root your heels? Are you collapsing into your inner arches of your feet, and you would be well served to ground the pinky toe and outer heel, or vice versa? Maybe you want to wag your dog tail and get your side spines opening. Be willing to play in the poses towards your own opening. And then let yourself come lower if you'd like, blocks wide, fingers wrapped over the front of the blocks if you're using blocks, or the seat of the chair. Traction the pelvis back. And come back to that three-dimensional breath, massaging tissue open from the inside. Let yourself use the tractioning to stretch the fabric of the body, to create space around the bones. You can stay here or bend one knee and sway to one side, bend the other knee, sway to the other side, swaying back and forth with the body, feeling into where the fabric is tight. And maybe it's so tight that you come up a little farther to stretch the fabric. We don't stretch it in a way that feels like it's going to do harm. We stay conscious and responsive. Some of us will keep hands on the blocks. Some will be able to walk hands between the feet and let the head dangle towards earth. You may still sway, or you may become still, releasing the spine long, wherever you are. Whether you're tractioning the pelvis back or letting the head hang. We breathe space between the vertebrae because we know decompression is very important and healthy for the body. We allow the belly to fill with breath, the neck to lengthen, the jaw to relax. Harmonious movement of earth energy, fire energy, clear sky through the body. And we come back to stillness, and we walk our hands to our props and draw them in. Props under the face. We set the right hand on the prop and float the left wing. Left shoulder blade firm on the shoulder. We lift into a twist. And we only twist as far as right for our body. If we have osteoporosis, we don't twist so hard we feel bone-on-bone compression. And then we breathe into our 3 dimensions, and we invite fabric to expand. And we release the left wing and float the right wing out, right shoulder blade on the back, lifting the right hand, grounding both legs, even into the 4 corners of each foot. We can feel into whether or not we're balancing the knees, because a twist can lead us to dropping the back leg groin towards the back inner arch, towards the earth in a way that imbalances the knee. So we may broaden that left leg inner thigh out to the left to help stabilize the knee over the feet. Fluid, 3-dimensional breath. And then we release the right hand and we unhinge, floating back up. And we turn the right foot out, taking the left heel back. We open star pose and bend the knee, Virabhadrasana 2. Fluid breath. And on the second side, we see, can we relax into the pose? How much of the body can we be aware of? And we may fine-tune the pose for a while, and then we try to find stillness. We breathe into this mudra. Warrior poses are poses of strong intention. What are your intentions for the new year? For your own renewal? And we release the right hand to the femur, left arm alongside the ear. We bow the heart towards earth and lift the heart towards the heavens. And maybe we stay high on the hand. Maybe we come down to the forearm. Whatever we do, we're focused on honoring the body and moving the prana. And we explore our own bodies. Maybe we pause in one of the postures for a moment. We feel into, oh, where do I need opening? We let the body parts know, I see you, I feel you. Oh, that feels good. We take our time. And then if we'd like, we rainbow the top arm over, we relax the hand. We open the feet. We relax into the posture. Into our 3-dimensional breath. Into stretching both the fabric of our physical body and our awareness open. And then we slowly float ourselves up into dancing warrior, effortless effort. How do we want to dance into this new year? And then straightening the front leg, we cartwheel into our high trikonasana. And we explore, where can we relax into the pose Where do we need strength? We may play with the head in space. Do we tend to drop it forward even here, putting pressure on the low back? Can we lift the heart here? Rest the base of the skull back. Imagine that hook at the hot air balloon taking you lengthwise out over the head. Use imagery to help you support the pose as we stay longer. And then rooting the legs, float up into your dancing trikonasana. And turn the right foot in, hands to the hips, thumbs to the back, elbows back, root the tail, lift the heart. Lengthen through the skull from center palate to crown. Lengthen from center palate to crown. Notice how that can stretch your neck. Three-dimensional breath. And release, stepping your feet into mountain. Pause now in mountain pose, hot air balloon lifting you from center palate. Root your feet deep into the earth. Three-dimensional breath. Let the fabric of your body stretch, the weave, release, open. Invite the prana in. Inhale, reach the arms skyward. Hastasana, rooting the tail, lengthening from center palate through crown, let the head lift. And then bending the knees, hinge forward, Utkatasana, fierce pose. We think of this as a challenging pose in yoga. Release your tail, let your lumbar lengthen. Can you release the collar? If not, let your arms open a little wider, palms out, or bring your hands to your heart. Find a place where you can find more ease in the posture. Stay with the three-dimensional breath, with your intentions. You can play with hand positioning. Roll the hands out for a moment. Maybe this will help you release the head of the arm bones back. Roll the palms in and up. Draw in with the pinky energy towards the armpit. Feel into how to settle the shoulders. And then inhale, Hastasana again. Interlacing the fingers, thumbs to the base of the skull, lift the base of the skull, wrapping the elbows forward, rest the head back. Feeling into your standing back bend. Can you create a solid base with your pelvis and your legs? Lengthening both side bodies, lengthening through the crown. And some of you unfurling the arms, gently reaching through each finger, but not in a hard way that jams bones into bones, in a way that allows for space between the bones. Three-dimensional breath. Feel into the power of this mudra. And then exhale, hands to the heart. Mountain pose. Okay, let's come to a wall. We're going to place our hands so that the index finger is pointing towards 12 o'clock. The arm is parallel with the ground, and the other hand wraps across the front ribs. And let's isometrically draw the hand down the wall and feel the muscles around your arm and into your armpit, down your rib cage, feel them engage. Now notice if you pull down really hard with your arm and you're used to hyperextending your knees, you'll throw your knees back. Or if you're used to throwing your pelvis, you'll throw your pelvis. Try to keep knees and pelvis well aligned, spacious, as you draw the arm down. Broaden across the collar, Lift from palate through crown. Three-dimensional breath. Now press the hand skyward, trying to keep the rest of the body solid and well aligned. Draw the hand back towards the pinky finger. Feel into the muscles that engage. Press the hand forward towards the thumb. Now draw the hand down towards earth again. It doesn't move. And step your feet a little farther from the wall, leaning into the hand. Float the other arm out to the side. Feel into this pose. Now draw in the banks of your river and root from the outer hips into the outer heels. Zip up the midline of the legs and lift through the pelvic floor. Lengthen the spine, lift the center palate, lift through the crown. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Buttocks gently hugging in towards the bones of the pelvis. Make sure you're not hyperextending or throwing your pelvis. Let your head align well with the heart and pelvis. And if you'd like, draw the arm up alongside the ear, the outside arm. Release the collar. Drawing the hand on the wall, still down towards earth, activating the muscles around the shoulder. And then release. And just pause for a moment, feeling into each arm. And then let's take it to the other side. Index finger towards 12 o'clock. First, stand so that you're in Tadasana, with the hand on the wall, arm parallel to earth, and draw down. As you draw down, check in that you're on the four corners of your feet. Lift your toes, lift your arches. Check in that your knees are well aligned. And press the hand up towards the fingers. Keep long in the spine, but not hard or stiff. Draw the energy back towards your pinky finger. Draw it forward towards your thumb. And draw it back down towards earth, floating the other arm up. Beautiful alignment, those of you I can see from the side. Really nice. Fluid breath, drawing the hand on the wall down. Lift the floating arm up by your ear. Can you keep both side bodies long? Still keep your pelvis aligned. Now hug in the banks of your river. Root into your feet. Feel the midline of your legs. And imagine the hand on the wall is on the floor. And release. And roll both shoulders. Let's reach way up the wall, hands wide. Lift onto the balls of your feet and slowly lower the heels and the pelvis, stretching the lumbar spine. Breathing space between the vertebrae. Releasing long. Let your hands float down the wall. Come to fingertips if you like and step back into half dog. Take an inhaled cow and an exhaled cat. And maybe you bend the knees so the body can flow into the cow and into the cat, creating space along the spine. Now come to neutral and strengthen the center channel and float one leg up behind you, toes pointing towards earth. Keep a lift from underneath the navel. The sleeve of muscles along the spine strong and long. Can you relax the collar? Perhaps you can release the fingers from the wall or just come lightly onto fingertips. Now ask yourself, how do I relax into this pose? How do I let myself be in the mudra, moving energy? And release the lifted foot and float the other foot up. Find your length, find your strength, find the banks of your river. And then as you're ready, relax into your posture. Invite the prana to continue to move. Breathe it through the mudra. And release the lifted foot, walking into the wall, hands shoulder height. Draw the hands down the wall, root the tail, and lift the heart. Root the pubic bone, root the tail, lift the heart. Lift the back side bodies. Lengthen the whole torso skyward. Check in with your knees, with your hips. Find a stretching open of the spine. Can you relax the collar? Lift the center palate towards the crown, towards the sky. With strength along the center column and perhaps in the banks of the river, where can you relax and release towards more effortlessness in the pose? And release to standing. Okay, let's turn our backs to the wall for a moment, open across the shoulders, and press the whole length of the humerus bone back. The shoulder may not press all the way to the wall, that's okay. But really have an intention of bringing the head of the arm bone wide and back. Now breathe wide into your torso. Feel where the thoracic spine touches the wall and broaden from there across your shoulders. Broaden if your pelvis or your buttocks touches the wall. Broaden the pelvis. Root down into the feet. Have some space in the knees, some space in the hips. Lift the center palate towards the crown towards the sky. Let your consciousness rest now in your back body. Feel the uniqueness of your back body and find strength in the back of your lumbar spine. Strength doesn't have to be a gripping. It's just a lengthening, a consciousness. Now feel into the sides of your lumbar spine, a consciousness. The front of your lumbar spine. And release. Reach for your block, and against the wall, let's come into half moon pose, ardha chandrasana, in honor of this beautiful full moon we've been having. Let's take the block forward as we cartwheel up into our ardha chandrasana, wrist beneath shoulder. You can be on fingertips, you can be on two blocks, you could be on the chair seat, or you can be on one block, full unfolding open into your half moon pose. Now, let the energy draw in from the hands and the soles of your feet and the crown towards your pelvic floor, towards your root chakra. And then from that root chakra, let the energy radiate back out again through your legs, through your arms, through your crown. And let that spond of energy pulsate inside your body. These are beautiful poses. Feel into where your head is in space. It wants to align with the heart, with the pelvis. It's very important in this pose. Remember how you just felt the breadth of your shoulders on the wall. Feel that in your pose. And then as you're ready, bring the top hand to your hip and slowly step out of the pose with grace. Beautiful, Sharon. Beautiful, Karen. And try the other side. Fluid breath. So as you come into this pose, we're balancing that loving hug of energy. In Anusara Yoga, we called it muscular energy. It hugs towards the center of your star. It hugs from skin circumferentially in towards bone. It hugs from your fingertips in towards your heart. And there's a spanda, there's organic energy that reaches out from the center channel, out to each finger, out from the pelvis, out through crown and feet. Let it pulsate inside you. Balancing, harmonizing, letting the energy move. Beautiful head neck alignment, Susie. Let yourself lengthen out from center palate through crown. And then as you're ready, hand to the hip. Float yourself out of the pose. Beautiful. And pause. with your breath. Fluid breath. Okay. Let's come down onto our bolster with a block underneath the head to do a little salambasana and plank work before we come into some side plank work. Okay, so we're finding that center channel today, and we're doing some poses that demand effort while we're staying conscious of effortlessness. We're inviting energy to pulse through us and to relax into us. So bring elbows under shoulders, forearms onto the floor, toes turned under if that's accessible to you. And as you rest into this position, align your shoulders. Think of how you'd want some breadth of support underneath you. And then as you're ready, inhale and press into the forearms, into the feet. Lift the torso, almost off or off your props. And pause in your low plank. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Now this pose does take efforting. But are there places in the pose where you're habitually over-efforting? Maybe you're gripping your hands, or your toes, or your jaw. Maybe you're tighter than you need to be around the collar. Or you're throwing your knees towards the sky. Think of creating space around the joints, even in this working posture. Inviting in the prana. The effort helps us build the fire so that we can move the energy. And yet we're still connected to the ground. We're building strength, earth energy. We invite in sky. And release back onto your bolster. Relax your forehead. Third eye center right onto your block and roll across one eyebrow and then the other. See if you can release tension in the forehead, any gripping in the mind, and come back to center. Now, reach one foot up, back behind you, lifting it off. Lift the other, reach back behind you, stretching the spine long, root the pubic bone, and float the legs up. Lift the head off the block. Draw the arms isometrically back slightly and lengthen the heart forward. Broad across the shoulder. Here, can you work on lengthening out of the collar? Center palate lifting towards crown. And maybe some of you can come to fingertips out to the side, drawing the hands back, lifting the heart a little higher. Still rooting the pubic bone and reaching the tailbone for the heels to keep the lumbar long. Perhaps the hands can come back by the hips, palms down, thumbs out, salambasana. Shoulder blades on the back, stretch the shoulder blades wide. This is a heart opener. Fluid breath, a back strengthener. Again, once we're in the pose, let's ask ourselves, where may I be over-efforting? Can I let go the over-effort and our culture's obsession with over-efforting? And breathe into relaxing into the pose even as I work. To smiling into the work. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Feel for it radiating out through the body. In yoga, the 72,000 nadis that move through the body center at the pelvis. Imagine the energy radiating out through you and beyond you. And release. Forearms to the floor, elbows under the shoulders, forehead back to the block, roll across the eyebrows. As we release tension in the forehead and the mind, we are more easily come towards sattvic clarity. Come back to center. Rooting into the forearms and the feet, float the body up off the bolster. Stretch tailbone away from base of skull. Where are you over-efforting? Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Practice of pratyahara, turning the gaze inward. We release back to the bolster. Point the toes behind us, bring the hands beside the hips, and float up salambasana. Broad across the shoulder girdle. Lengthening and strengthening. Can you take the palate towards the crown out, away from the heels? Three-dimensional breath between the sides of the vertebrae. And release the hands and float back. Supported or unsupported child's pose, you choose. Let yourself really be in this mudra. Can we bow towards our own intentions? If you'd like, take your hands around to the right and breathe deep into the left side body. Relax the bones to stretch and space the fabric open. You can use the bones to space the fabric, to stretch the tissue. And use the breath to move the fluid into tight tissue. And then walk around to the other side, breathing into the right side body. We want to invite harmony between stretching open and strengthening the body. Too many people are imbalanced one way or another. Some people hypermobile, some people really tight. We want to find the balance, whatever body we're in. Moving back to center, let's come to laying on one side. Now, this next pose you could do with your feet against the wall. And if your shoulders won't go into a side plank, you could come back to the standing pose we did earlier with the arm on the wall. If you can come into a side plank, you may want to fold your mat to give yourself a little more cushion. And then we'll root shoulder down into elbow. Let's lengthen the bottom leg out and step the top leg perpendicular to the body and float ourselves up to Vashisthasana. We're rooting down through both feet, the karate chop pinky toe side of the long leg and the four corners of the standing foot. Now think of the wall behind you in ardha chandrasana. Open your shoulders wide and back. Let your heart lift out. And think of aligning the palate with the heart. Lengthen from palate through crown. And lengthen from heart down to heel. Now, as you're doing that, hug in the banks of your river, and some of you will stack your feet. Hug the midline, hip to hip, broad across the shoulders, long through the pose. You can hug in the banks of your river, zip up the inner thighs, lengthen through the crown. and release. Let's roll around to the other side. Folding the mat in. Remember, if Vashisthasana doesn't feel like it works for you, you can come up into our rainbows and you could still be working the underside body. If it does, lengthen the lower leg out on the floor. Karate chop it gently into the floor as you press the perpendicular foot down and lift. Make sure your elbow's under your shoulder. Stretch across the arms from the heart, opening the wingspan. Now right here, play with hugging in the banks of your river, drawing in the pelvic floor and lengthening the sleeve of muscles around the spine up through the crown. Some of you will stack your feet and zip up the inner thighs. Some of you are working on the wall. Good job honoring your body. Fluid breath. Feel into leaning back into the wall behind you, letting your head rest back, your back collar open, hugging the hips in to give you support at the pelvis. And release. Come on to hands and knees. And inhale, lifting the heart, lifting the tail, cow. Pause in your cow, asymmetrically hugging hands towards knees. And breathe into opening the tissue. For some of you, it'll be stretching the psoas. So if you feel a stretch in your front low belly, deep towards the spine, say good morning to your psoas. Exhale, lift the navel, tailbone, hinges down towards earth, hissing cat. Press hands away from knees. Now breathe in towards your kidneys in the back body. Stretch the tissue of the low back. Maybe you want to take one hip back and then the other, swaying side to side, stretching the side bodies. We work on strengthening, we work on opening to find harmony. And then come to your neutral spine, release the navel towards the earth and take it towards the left, up towards the sky like a jump rope, out to the right and down. And let the spine move. The hinges that we use don't rust, but some of us have developed patterns where we don't use the hinges between certain vertebrae. We want to get them back. We want to take the rust out. Spray in the WD-40. Lift your spine skyward. Take your jump rope the other way. Fluid breath. Noticing if the tightness in your spine correlates with the tightness in the four corners, in the hips or in the shoulders. Fluid breath. Good morning, spine. Come back up to your neutral and float your left foot out behind you, your right hand, fingertips on the floor forward, and float the limbs up. And pause, broad across your shoulders, broad across your hips. Some people refer to this as the pointing dog. We can point towards our intentions in the new year if we want to be a little corny with our yoga mudra poses. Lower, fingers and toes towards the floor and lift and lower and lift and lower and lift. And if you'd like, draw elbow towards knee and straighten, elbow towards knee and straighten. Now we're working the core, also working our ability to balance, our awareness of stabilizing with myofascial slings. Release the limbs. Take the left hand forward, right toes back and float. And release. Can you stay broad across the collar? Relaxed in the standing elbow. And float up, draw elbow towards knee and extend. Can you stay long in the sleeve of muscles along the spine? Long from palate to crown. And floating the limbs out, pause, broad across your shoulders, broad across your pelvis, balancing, breathing, inviting the prana to flow through. and release. Let's draw the bolster in long ways across the mat and bring a block to the head. And let yourself rest, heart onto the bolster, head onto the block. If it's comfortable for you, the head of the arm bones rests down towards earth and the arms rest on earth. You can put blankets under the arms, or you can leave your elbows on the bolster and your hands on your heart. If your torso is short and the bolster's too high, you can put a blanket under your sacrum. For a moment, let your feet stay in constructive rest, heels aligned with sit bones. And just concentrate on releasing the spine open. Letting go the four corners into the hug of gravity. As we come into more restorative poses, the practice becomes one of relaxation. The longer I do this work, the more I realize how important the relaxation piece is. In Qigong yesterday, I read a quote from a Tai Chi Quan master, a Tai Chi master, who lived to be 105, and they were asking him what was the reason for his longevity, and he said, a state being in the spirit of relaxation. Kenneth Cohen says you can't try to relax. Relaxation is a state we enter, but we can cultivate relaxation. So see if you can release your bones into the hug of gravity. And if your spine isn't comfortable and you're gripping back, then take a lower bolster, use a blanket roll. Come to a position where you can rest the tissue open and let the bones become spacers. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. If you'd like to, you can walk the soles of your feet together and let the knees open in a Baddha Konasana, or you can lengthen the legs out on the mat. Give yourself the gift of time in the mudra. And then gently stepping your feet back in and supporting your head. Roll to one side on your bolster. Draw the lower leg in parallel with the bolster. You can rest your head on the block, or you can come over the bolster a little more and rest your head towards the arm, lengthening the top leg down the mat. Lift the top arm up and over, and breathe into the side ribs. You can take the top wrist with your bottom hand and stretch. reaching the foot long the other way. You can gently play with rolling your heart towards earth and rolling the back of your heart towards earth, lifting the heart towards the heaven to see where your body most needs the stretch. And then pausing and breathing into opening. Some of you may enjoy taking the long leg behind you a little bit to stretch the psoas, reaching the inner thigh away from the navel, flexing the foot, pressing out through the heel. Three-dimensional breath. And then releasing. You can gently roll over to the other side. You can play with the position of your bolster, how far you want it towards your shoulder or towards your hips. It'll be a different stretch. Bending the bottom leg, lengthening the top leg, stretching the arm overhead. Fluid breath into the rib cage. You may roll forward to back. Letting the stretching parts know, I see you, I feel you. I'm noticing. Perhaps taking the top leg back behind you, stretching the inner thigh away from the navel. And then release. Floating yourself up out of this side stretch. Move the bolster off the mat for a moment to come towards a bridge and draw the bolster underneath your pelvis. Let one leg lengthen out over the bolster. If that feels like a strain in your low back at all, draw the leg back in. Come onto the balls of your feet, lift the pelvis, take the tailbone long towards the backs of the legs, set the pelvis down, release the shoulders away from the pelvis, and lengthen your leg out again. Give yourself a moment to feel into this side. Invite the Tamas energy in the leg and pelvis, that earthy, grounding energy to settle into the body and help you stretch. Draw the first leg in and stretch the second leg out, and notice any differences side to side. This may give you ideas of where to work towards harmony. How that harmony can support renewal in the physical system. If you'd like, stretch both legs out over the bolster. Fluid breath. And again, you may play with taking the legs wide or bringing them closer, noticing how the stretch changes. feeling in towards deeper and deeper relaxation, cultivating a state of relaxation. Feel how when you release tension, energy will be more likely to flow through that tissue. The tension itself cuts off the energy. And then gently walk your feet back in and draw one knee towards your chest, then the other, reaching the feet for the sky. You can flex and point the feet or circle the feet to stretch open the ankles, to move the lymph, taking the circles the other way. Some of you may want to take the feet out overhead in a movement towards plow pose. If you're feeling open enough and you have a plow pose practice, you could press down on the bolster, taking your hips off the bolster and your feet towards the floor. Fluid breath. And then slowly bring the legs back up. How deeply can you rest in legs up the sky? Then let the knees come in towards your chest, and you can either press the bolster out so it's supportive under your knees, or sit up and bring the bolster around for a Supta Baddha Konasana as your final restorative. I have a bit of a cold, so I'm going to choose the Supta Baddha Konasana. And make sure you get a blanket to cover yourself. My daughter got this, her puppy got this new blanket for Christmas. It's very soft. I'm going to use that one. Remember, you can draw your blocks in underneath your knees and you can angle them in towards your legs if you'd like a little support for your knees. You can bring a pillow in under your head. You can use an eye pillow. You could even place a sandbag. If your pelvis is far enough away from the bolster, you could place a sandbag over the low pelvis. And then rest into the pose. I love Baddha Konasana when you bring the blocks in because it kind of creates a little nest of the legs. And if you think of this as another pose mudra, it nests you in towards earth. It also creates a container for energy to flow into, down your legs towards root chakra, pelvis, drawing energy up from earth, heart open, drawing sky energy in. Can you rest into the flow of prana from the outer world into your body? Relaxing your pinky fingers, which represent earth energy, tamas energy, grounding force. Resting your ring fingers, representing rajas, the fire. Resting your middle fingers, the sattva sattvic, sky, clarity. And gently bringing your thumb and index fingers together, your own consciousness with universal consciousness. Inviting a circulation of the energy you draw in through the backs of your hands from earth, from the sky, through the palms, through the heart. Inviting this energy to circulate for your renewal in the new year. As you're ready, see if you can continue to cultivate a relaxed state as you gently open your eyes, taking in the color, the shapes around you. Then as you begin to move, can you move with effortlessness and ease, gently, inviting a continual flow of prana as you slowly make your way up to a comfortable seat. Take your time. As you do make it to your seat for a moment, bring your index finger and thumbs together, palms resting skyward. Open across your collarbones, backs of your hands on your legs. Invite the prana in. Invite it to circulate through you. Remember, throughout your day, any position you take can be thought of as a mudra, as a way to move energy, to seal in intention. Let's inhale our hands to our hearts. May we be present with our movements and with the flow of energy inside us and through us and from us. Namaste. And thank you for your practice.